Hey everyone, Victoria from Nutrition to You here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about virus prevention. Obviously a hot topic right now, so if you are a high-risk candidate or if you have a loved one who's a high-risk candidate for having complications from COVID-19, you may want to listen to the entirety of this video. So how do you prevent getting sick from COVID-19 or really any virus, including the flu or colds or anything else? Well, there are really three ways, and I'll touch on the first two briefly, and then I'll really focus on the third. The first is to not contract the virus at all. The second is to keep your immune system strong and healthy. And the third is to prevent the virus from replicating inside your body. So let's talk about these briefly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how to prevent contracting the virus because everyone else has. You know that you need to isolate if you're high risk, you need to socially distance, you need to wear a mask, specifically an N95 mask, because that is really the only mask that can do any good in terms of preventing contracting the virus. You want to wash your hands, and you just want to take every precaution you can in order to prevent being around other people who may carry the virus and infect you. The second way is to keep your immune system strong and healthy. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this either because this is a very long discussion. Specifically, you want to eat healthy, you want to stay away from processed food and junk food, you want to move your body, and you want to supplement wisely. And this takes me to the third point, keeping the virus from replicating inside your body. There are really two things that you absolutely have to have on hand and take preventatively every day. This is specifically important for anyone who's high risk. The two things are zinc and a zinc ionophore. I'm sure you've heard all about zinc. Zinc is a very important nutrient in your body. It has many different functions, and one of them, studies show, is preventing you from getting sick from a virus. So this is a very important thing to have on hand, and I'll talk more about that in a second. And a zinc ionophore. Now, what is a zinc ionophore? A zinc ionophore is a substance that actually ushers the zinc inside the cell through the cell barrier. Before we get into the nitty-gritty about zinc ionophores and zinc, I think it's really important to spend a moment telling you a little bit about how a virus functions, because without that understanding, it's hard to understand how zinc and zinc ionophores work. A virus is not a living thing. Why is that important? This means that it cannot replicate itself as other living things do. If you happen to contract a virus, it cannot make you sick until it replicates enough to create a substantial viral load, which will then make you sick. That's when you start getting symptoms, and that's when you actually fall ill. So why is this important? Because you want to make sure that you can prevent the virus from replicating inside your body, because it needs your cells to do so. And this is where zinc and zinc ionophores come in. So let's talk briefly about zinc. The only thing that I really want to mention is that you want to make sure that you have a zinc picolinate on hand, because zinc picolinate specifically is the most absorbable form of zinc. And if you get any other kind of zinc, most other ones are just going to go right through you, and you're literally going to be flushing it and the money that you spend on it down the toilet. The other thing that's really important to mention about zinc, and this is something that most people do not know, is that you don't want to be taking zinc every single day unless you have a zinc deficiency that's been diagnosed by a doctor. In addition to zinc, zinc ionophores are very important. And you've probably heard of the most famous zinc ionophores, which is hydroxychloroquine. It's been all over the news, a highly controversial drug. I'm not going to talk about hydroxychloroquine specifically, but I do want to talk about zinc ionophores and what they do and why they are very effective at preventing viruses from replicating and creating substantial viral load inside your body that generally makes you sick. A zinc ionophore is a substance that helps usher the zinc into your cell. It helps it through the cell membrane and basically keeps the zinc inside your cell, which keeps the virus out. And if the virus is kept out of the cell, it cannot replicate. If it cannot replicate, it cannot attain substantial viral load that will make you sick. So if you can't get your hands on hydroxychloroquine, which unfortunately most of us cannot at this time, the good news is that there are many other zinc ionophores that you can use to do the same thing. The one that I use for myself and for my family, and the one that I think is most effective and most importantly easiest to get your hands on at this point, is called quercetin. Quercetin is not a synthetic supplement. It's actually a plant flavonoid. It's natural to a lot of fruits and vegetables and seeds and leaves. You can find it in kale, you can find it in red onions and a host of other different things. And it is most importantly a zinc ionophore, and it acts to help usher the zinc in the cell and keep the virus out. Before I get into dosage and anything that I do, I want to stress how important it is for you to speak to your own doctor and make sure that zinc and quercetin are safe for you or for the loved one that you're getting it for. On that note, I am not a doctor. I am an integrative nutritionist, but I cannot prescribe, nor can I tell you the dosage that you need of any kind of supplement. The only thing that I can do is I can tell you what I personally do, and then you need to speak to your doctor about dosage and whatever it is that's specifically right for you. Mentioned before, zinc can interfere with the absorption of other important nutrients in your body. So you don't want to be taking that every day. Most people do not know that. As far as the quercetin is concerned, I generally take about 500 milligrams, which is 2 pills once a day, and that's preventatively. Now, if you do contract the virus or any kind of virus, if you at the onset of the very first symptoms, it is important to start this treatment immediately within 2 pills once a day, and that's preventatively. Now, if you do contract the virus or any kind of virus, if you at the onset of the very first symptoms, it is important to start this treatment immediately within an hour or 2 hours of symptoms, because if you wait any longer, it will not be effective. Won't be effective is because once the virus replicates itself enough to create substantial viral load, like we talked about earlier, it's too late. It's going to make you sick. So what you're trying to do with the quercetin, with the zinc ionophore and the zinc, is to prevent that from happening. The bottom line is that if you, especially if you're a high-risk individual, you want to make sure that you're carrying your zinc and your quercetin with you at all times, because at the very onset of any symptoms, whether it's a scratchy throat, a stuffy nose, a headache, whatever it is, you want to start dosing yourself according to your doctor's instructions immediately to prevent the virus from replicating and getting you sick. So at the very first onset of any symptoms where I am getting a scratchy throat or a stuffy nose or a headache or any kind of symptom that makes me feel like, yeah, I'm definitely getting sick, I'm not 100%, I start pounding the zinc and I start pounding the quercetin. What that means for me is that I take about 50 to 60 milligrams of zinc twice a day for a course of 5 days or so, definitely not more than 7. And then the quercetin, I go up to about 500 milligrams 3 times a day, 3 to 4 times a day, really, for also about 5 to 7 days. And usually this knocks out any virus that I personally have within a few days, and I never feel any symptoms thereafter. Most important 2 things, and I cannot stress these enough, is first, speak to your doctor, make sure that these 2 supplements are safe for you, and make sure that the dosage is right for you. And second of all, if you do happen to have any symptoms, make sure that you have these on hand and you start pounding them as soon as you have any symptoms, because if you don't do it soon enough, the virus will replicate in your cells and it's going to be too late. You are going to get sick. I've done a lot of research on these supplements. I've found the best 2 brands that I personally recommend, and I'll leave links for you down below so that you can find them. And as always, feel free to send me a private message, a DM, direct message, whatever media I'm using right now. However you want to contact me, if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about brands, or if you want to talk about efficacy or anything else. And again, please speak to your doctor and pass this on to anybody who might need it, because I really do believe that this is the key to helping you prevent getting sick, prevent contracting the virus, and if you can't prevent contracting the virus, then prevent actually having the virus make you sick. I'm going to sign off, and I hope this was helpful. Please let me know what you thought, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for listening.